Developing a creative taste means being honest with yourself every single day. You have to be able to admit that your current work is not as good as the things you love. That honesty is what is going to push you, grow, and develop your creative taste. But here's what no one tells you. If you are a woman, you can develop your creative taste faster than men. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how. By the end of this video, you will have an exact step-by-step guide on how to develop your creative taste and a free AI prompt that is going to act like your personal creative mirror to show you exactly where your taste is and where the gap lies. If you're new here, hi, I'm Twinkle. I study everything that makes a woman powerful, including self-concept, female identity, and personal growth, and I share all of my findings here on this channel. If that interests you, make sure to stick around. Now, first question that we are going to cater in this video is, what do you mean by developing your creative taste? Now, as per the research, taste lives in two places in human psychology. The first place is sociology. In that domain, French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu made a discovery that changed the way that people think about taste. He said that taste is not something you are born with, it is actually learned. It is shaped by your environment, by the people around you, by the culture you were handled way before you were old enough to choose. He called this your habitus. So basically, your habitus is the training you received for developing your taste even before signing up for anything. That is exactly the reason why when one girl walks into a room, she might find something beautiful, whereas when the other one walks into the same room, she might not feel anything at all. Neither of them is wrong, but both of them are trained differently. The second place where your taste lives is in your brain's learning system. See, your brain has its own way of living. The more it sees something, the more comfortable it gets with it. And then eventually, that comfort starts to feel like beauty. Scientists call this as perpetual fluency. It is exactly the reason why when you hear your favorite song, every time it sounds more beautiful than the time before. It is exactly why a painting that you probably hated in your house eventually starts growing up on you. And let me give you a biological truth here as well, that taste is also based on neuroplasticity. Research confirms that your brain forms new neural pathways every time it encounters something new, repeatedly over time. So, in a nutshell, it means that your taste right now is not permanent, it is changeable. And you have the full editorial control over it. But then, why is developing creative taste suddenly a skill that matters the most? Because the world we are living in right now is changing by the second. And currently, we are inside what I like to call as the curator economy. Now, what that means is that at this point of time, there is more content than a human can consume in 10 lifetimes. We have got more styles, more aesthetics, more options. And when you cannot filter the right type of content for you, you are eventually going to drown in the sea of all this content available. So if you do not develop your taste, you are going to fall into trends. You are going to dress like how algorithm is telling you. You are going to think like how algorithm is telling you to think. You are going to consume like how algorithm is telling you to consume. And here's what most of you are failing to realize at this point of time. You are not developing your own creative taste. You are actually outsourcing it to these algorithms. Think about it, because Instagram is constantly watching and saving what you are clicking and what you are watching for a longer period of time. Spotify is constantly keeping a tab on what type of songs you are skipping. TikTok is watching you how long you stay before you swipe. And then when they have curated that data about you, they are going to feed you more of the same. So, while you are thinking that you are exploring new things, you are actually categorized into a comfortable corner by an algorithm where everything feels familiar, where dopamine hits take place, but you are not sure if everything feels like how you do. A researcher has actually described this scenario perfectly. She said, and I quote, "The problem with algorithmic recommendations is that they prevent us from being challenged or surprised. Everything is molded to the preferences that we have already expressed. We are shepherded towards the experiences that we find comfortable enough. And finding something that is comfortable enough is not taste. On the contrary, comfortable enough is actually the absence of taste. Because real taste requires surprise. It requires sitting with something unfamiliar for so long that you eventually start forming your opinions about it. So I'd like you to think of developing your own taste like a DJ. A DJ rarely creates a sound from scratch. But what they do is they take everything that is existing and curate it into a fresh perspective that is uniquely theirs. That is exactly what taste does. It makes everything you touch truly yours. So now let's get into what is the creative taste made of? What is the real definition of it? Creative taste in its simpler form compounds of three things: knowledge, curiosity, and love. And love is the most important one. Love is what sends you down the rabbit hole at 2 a.m. in the morning without even realizing what time it is. Love is what makes you cry at a concert that you did not even plan to attend. Love is what makes you reread a book that no one assigned to you. So basically, developing your creative taste is finding those things that resonate with you so much that they stay with you for a lifetime. Sometimes as thoughts, sometimes as objects, but they will always remind you of some personal era that you were going through at that time. Victories, heartbreaks, and all the things that you accumulate during those eras, they become a part of your interior world. They are a true reflection of your taste. And by this, you would have understood that the taste is built and it is not found. But then, do you know that creative women struggle the most in developing their own taste? It has actually been researched that the people who struggle the most in developing their creative taste are actually the people from the creative fields. It's simply because creative people have too much of everything. A journalist named Ira Glass named this phenomena ages ago. He called it the gap, and he described it as you have good taste. That is what got you into this. But your work disappoints you because you can see the gap between what is good and what you're currently making. Read that again. It's simply because your standards are elite, but your output feels mediocre. That is the taste skill gap. And sadly, women feel this gap more than men do because women have higher sensitivity and aesthetic awareness. So basically, as a woman, you can literally visualize what perfect looks like, but then when you try to put in the effort to produce something, your own beginner work feels painful to produce. But do you know what? This taste skill gap is actually just the beginning. There are four other discomforts that creative women face. The first is imposter crossover. At some point, you will realize that most of the historical standards of what a good taste means are defined by men. Male critics, male architects, male editors. And that is why, as a woman, you're bound to feel two things. First, an imposter if you are conforming to all those standards without even questioning them. And second, a rebel if you are rejecting them without even understanding why they were put in that place. If you pick sides, both feel wrong. But this is actually a sign that your creative taste is waking up. The second discomfort is the isolation of editing. When your taste starts sharpening up, you start editing your own life, your wardrobe, your friend group, your aesthetics, the places you spend time in. And when you will be editing these places, you will start feel lonely. Because editing your life for good is always a solo sport. People might start calling you too picky or too much. And for women in India, this friction is real. Because our traditional expectations demand us to fit in. But then developing your own taste in certain matters means that you cannot. The third discomfort is the unlearning process. This one is the hardest because this one is actually going to make you stop and think questions like, do I actually like this? Or was I trained to like this? Do I dress this way because this feels like me? Or because it looks good on me for others? Now, this process is going to be slow and uncomfortable. It cannot happen by watching this video once, but it truly starts with someone making you aware of it. Number 4 is the risk of public failure. See, as women, we are being trained from decades ago that we need to be perfect before we are socialized into public. So producing the work that you feel is bad, but putting it out anyway is going to feel like you're violating all of the fundamental truths you've been told about yourself. But here is what I need you to understand. You have to be willing to look imperfect while you're trying to be iconic. That is the only path. And then bringing you down to how you can develop your own creative taste. Again, there are going to be 4 methods. And each one is designed by researchers to actually close this taste and skill gap one by one. Method number 1, the deconstruction exercise. Here's how it's going to look like. You have to find one piece that you love. It could be a website, a photograph from a magazine, a book cover, a room, anything that made you stop and stare. Now, I want you to sit with it and then start breaking it apart. Don't allow your mind to just say, oh, this looks good. Ask your mind this question, why does this look good to you? Is this the spacing of the text? Is this the color combination? What is the emotion that you are feeling while you're staring at it? I want you to break this magical, surreal feeling into a technical checklist. And once you start writing that checklist down, you will start to see that how your creative taste is going to become more and more visible. You will also understand that you're no longer admiring someone else's work. You're actually reverse engineering it. You are turning your observation into a vocabulary, and your vocabulary is where your taste begins. Method number 2, the 30-day sprint. You have to admit that your brain is faster than your hands. That is the entire problem, and you need mileage to close this distance. So, here's what you're going to do. You're going to make one creative thing every day for the next 30 days. And you have to commit to this process. It could be a photo edit, a color study, a paragraph, a mood board. And no, you don't have to do it for the audience of Instagram. Surely, you can pick up a project. For example, I've seen a lot of filmmakers who pick up this 30-day sprint project wherein they're posting one short form video every single day on a specific platform. You can do that. But if you don't want to do that, that's also fine. Do it just for the reps. And also, there is a very famous experiment in art school that proves this. Student who made 50 ceramic pots without even caring about the quality created better pots than the students who spent their time perfecting only one. I am a firm believer that volume teaches what perfection never will. So, remember that your creative taste lives in the mistakes and not in the final product. Method number 3, the box method. Now, here's the creative paradox: less choices make better work. It's simply because when you have infinite options, your brain's default mode sets to being safe. So it will always find something familiar. It will always lean towards something which already exists. And familiar is always the enemy of something distinguished. So that's why I want you to give yourself a box, which means give yourself one rule. This could look like: design something creative using only one font and two colors. Write something using sentences of 8 words. Build a mood board using images from one era only. People in general think that constraints are going to kill your creative taste. But actually, if you start observing people around you, they weaponize it. Because when you give constraints to your brain, it does not have the option to add more. It just has some simple ingredients and it has to produce its best work out of it. That forces your brain to go deeper, and depth is where taste lives. Method number 4, we are living in the age of AI. So use this method of using AI as a creative mirror. This method will accelerate your creative taste development faster than anything. So here's what I want you to do. Once you've produced your own work, feed it into AI and then use this prompt with it. This prompt is basically telling the AI to compare the aesthetic designs of your own work and then ask it about the patterns which have existed in the history so that you can find similar things of your taste, and also what are the strengths and weaknesses of your creative output. So basically, you are not asking AI, is this good or what do you think? You're actually asking AI to be specific, critical, comparative, and also very critical about you. And here's what you will observe once you see AI's output. You will see that AI will actually give you a name of your own. And this is how you will feel once you see the output from AI. AI will actually give you a language for the things that your gut already knows. That language is where your creative taste will start becoming conscious. That is going to be your breakthrough moment. Now, before we end, I just want to tell you one thing that most people get backwards about this creative taste concept. Most people would want you to believe that you have to be a creative person to be able to develop a creative taste, when in reality, you don't. Because every choice you make every day is actually a taste decision. What you put on your wall, what you choose to read, what type of clothes you decide to buy, what you say no to, what you say yes to. These are not the small choices. They are actually the contributing factors of your self-image. But here's another catch. If you do not have a concrete taste, if you do not have it in you to say no to the things that you do not like, your environment will start shaping your taste. And once your environment has full control over your taste, it is going to have a full control over your identity as well. And then you will always stay anxious about your choices. You will always feel persuaded by other people. You will always feel uncomfortable in explaining yourself. Now, this does not mean that there's something wrong with your personality. This simply means that there is an absence of taste and ownership. So, pick up this personal project of developing your own creative taste, because the women who seem to have an effortless taste were not born with it. They actually spend time to build their taste effectively and deliberately. And I hope you're also taking conscious actions towards developing your taste, because that is the skill that is going to matter in the age of AI. That's it for today's video. If you haven't grabbed the AI prompt, it is linked in the description. It's free to use. I put in a lot of effort in creating these prompts, so please make sure that you are using it to develop your taste, and make sure that you're sharing this video with other creative women that you know, because she might need it as much as you did. And I will see you in the next one.